walls that faced out over the Gulf of Mexico. So it was basically the dormitories for the ocean, a little bit of sand dunes, and then the Gulf of Mexico was right there. Now, this new orphanage that was built here was far enough from town that everyone felt it was safe from a future epidemic of yellow fever. They thought the children would be rather safe there, and it was such a lovely spot overlooking the Gulf that they really thought this plot of land and the dormitories were just a splendid option for the children to reside in. Now we're gonna fast forward a few more years, and it was the year 1900, so right at the turn of the century. On September the 8th in the year 1900, a nun named Sister Elizabeth Ryan went into the city of Galveston to collect food for the orphanage. There were 10 sisters who worked and lived at St. Mary's, and Sister Elizabeth had the regular job of going into town to gather supplies. That day, though, there was a bad storm happening outside, yet Sister Elizabeth still took the wagon into town. On the way back, after gathering her supplies, she stopped at St. Mary's Infirmary, and while there, Mother Gabriel asked Sister Elizabeth to stay at the infirmary until the storm had passed. Sister Elizabeth said she would be fine and told Mother Gabriel that she needed to head back to the orphanage as they did not have enough supplies for dinner that evening, and if she did not return, all of the children would be left to go to bed unfed that evening. At the time, there were 93 children in the care of the sisters at St. Mary's Orphanage. Sister Elizabeth returned to the orphanage that afternoon, and after she returned, the wind and the waves continued to increase. The waves eventually rose over some of the sand dunes and beaches in Galveston, flooding several of the residential areas. For the time, the orphanage was okay enough. The sisters, though, could look out towards the Gulf from those balconies, as each of the dormitories faced the Gulf, and they had a very scary view of the storm that was pummeling Galveston. Now, this storm was actually a hurricane, and the wind speeds got up to around 200 miles per hour. Around 6 p.m. that evening, the sisters gathered all of the children into the girls' dormitory, as it was the newer of the two buildings and was supposedly more structurally sound. The storm was not letting up, and the tides continued to rise, pummeling the sand dunes, making them look as if they were made of flour. shrine we look and see the glimmer. Thy votive lamp sheds down on us afar. Light of our eyes, oh let it nearer grow dimmer, till in the sky we hail the morning star. Then joyful hearts shall kneel around thine altar, and grateful psalms re-echo down the nave. Never our faith in thy sweet power can falter, Mother of God, Our Lady of the Wave. Now the children and the sisters were singing this song over and over and over. Around 6 p.m. that evening, 8 p.m. that evening, the waters of the Gulf of Mexico and the bay between Galveston and the mainland of Texas had met. People who lived in Galveston had to climb to the second floors if they happened to have one in their home, or the rooftops. At this time, the children in the orphanage were instructed to head to the second floor. Around 7:30 p.m., a tidal surge struck the shore, and the boys' dormitory sadly collapsed. At this point in time, all of the children and the sisters were still located in the girls' dormitory. However, the sisters were extremely concerned, and they were trying their hardest to protect all of the children. In order to protect the children, they began to tie a clothesline around their waists, around their wrists, and then around several of the children. And so basically each sister had a grouping of children, around 9 to 10 kids each. And they were just all tied together to kind of stay in one group. Sadly, after tying this clothesline around themselves and the children, the girls' dormitory where all of the children and sisters were sheltering in place collapsed. The sisters all continued singing and shouting the Queen of the Waves song, and they were telling all of the children that they were not going to let go, and they were going to protect them. Sadly, the waves and hurricane overtook the whole orphanage. Out of the 93 children and 10 sisters, only 3 young boys survived. The names of the 3 surviving boys were William Murney, Frank Madeira, and Albert Campbell. These 3 boys somehow managed to cling onto a tree and were found floating in the area a day after herself with that clothesline. That fateful night, they were found a few days later, right where the Galvez Hotel was built in 1911. Now, the Galvez Hotel currently has a new name, but it is still considered one of the most haunted hotels in all of Texas and America. There have been quite a few paranormal things that have occurred regularly, and guests at the hotel claim to often see the figure of Sister Catherine in a long, dark habit, pacing the southern lawn and looking out to sea. Now, this typically happens when a storm or a hurricane is about to hit Galveston. Many of the workers at the hotel and visitors see Sister Catherine. Everyone claims and believes that this is an apparition of Sister Catherine, who is there keeping an eye on her children. Also in the area and at the hotel, several children ghosts are seen regularly. Child-size fingerprints are often seen on the glass located throughout the spa area, and even though the glass is regularly cleaned, these fingerprints will reappear just a short time later. There is often the sounds of children laughing and running throughout the halls, and it is believed that these are the children that were found with Sister Catherine in that area. All of the children who are seen at the hotel are believed to be the ghosts from St. Mary's Orphanage, and Sister Catherine is there to watch out for all of them. This story has such a sad ending, I feel, but I am very thankful for all of the sisters